Yo YouTube, and welcome all to the first video ever on the channel. I'm Sellers UK, and in this video I'm going to be giving you my under 21 Sorare stars of the Euros. Now this is not necessarily the players who perform the best, although will be some similarity with the list, but those who I think are going to put in some big numbers on the game Sorare. I also stream regular Sorare content over at twitch.tv/Sellers UK. If you would like to see more of my Sorare content, I'd appreciate you joining me over there. Maybe even a follow or sub to help the channel and help me bring you more content. And if you enjoy this video, if you could please drop a like, subscribe and comment below, it would help me and I would appreciate you so much. I will make this watch list public on Sorare data and leave a link below so it makes it easy for you to access. Now let's get on with the list. With the Euros starting on Wednesday, June the 21st, I want to start off with the keepers, and the first keeper we're going to have a look at is Bart Verbruggen, the Anderlecht keeper. He's only 20, so by a lot of players' ages in this, he's probably at the lower end. But this guy's had a little bit of a breakout season for Anderlecht, and there's been a lot of big clubs looking at him around Europe, especially interest from the Premier League of late. Although in the Netherlands friendly, he did not start, I fully expect come that first game that Bart Verbruggen will start. This guy has played 17 times this season, conceded 21 goals in those games, but kept 8 clean sheets. And I think now this is a tournament where he can show what he's all about. His SO5 scores this season have actually been pretty consistent, but he is a better keeper than some of these lower end scores suggest. Anderlecht at times have not had the greatest season by their standards. But I fully expect this guy to have a really amazing Euro under 21s. Next up is Noah Atubulu. I think this is the keeper that is most nailed on to start for their country in the tournament. Although he hasn't had much game time for Freiburg, he has played once this season, scored 41, and he's on the bench most of the time. And the talk is that he will now take over from Mark Flecken as the #1 keeper for Freiburg next season, and he's only 21 and he's already shown that he's extremely talented. So although there's not a lot to go score wise off of this guy, this is someone I fully expect to have a big tournament, and Germany are the favourites for the tournament, and we know that German sides are usually very workmanlike. Is a keeper that has solidified their place in the Genk team, and that is Martin van der Voort from Belgium. Belgium have got a tough group, but this guy is the real deal. He's played 34 times this season for Genk. He's conceded 37 goals, and he's kept 8 clean sheets. This guy is a real talent, and I believe he will have a massive tournament. Now let's take a look at the defenders. Originally I had Levi Colwill on this list, but unfortunately he's been called up to the England squad with the men's team, hopefully to take over from Harry Maguire. But on to these, first up we've got Luca Netz. Now this isn't necessarily one that I have in-depthly looked at, but as a Sorare community I've seen a lot of hype around Luca Netz, and I believe that he can have a really big tournament on the back of what I'm hearing about this lad. He's only 20 years old, but he's already played 20 appearances this year for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He got 1 goal, got 3 assists. He can also play a bit further up the pitch as well in left mid. So I think that this guy has got the potential of scoring really well in the under 21s. Next up is Jordan Bayer, 23 years old. He was on loan at Burnley last season. They've now made the deal permanently. He had a pretty decent season for Burnley. He didn't play towards the end, the last 3 games. But other than that, he was a massive scorer for Burnley and a big reason why Burnley have been promoted to the Premier League. So I fully expect this guy. He's a little bit older in terms of the players that are in the under 21s. So he can bring a little bit more experience to that Germany team. So I think he is going to have a massive tournament. Next up is someone that most of the community probably know about, and that's Maxim de Cuyper. This guy is a Sorare beast. He's played 33 games this season. He's got 8 goals. He's got 6 assists, and his scores are insane. This guy already doing it in the Jupiler League, so I fully expect him to be one of Belgium's stars of this tournament. He also takes corners, and he has been known to take penalties as well. So I think this guy can definitely get those decisives for you. And if Belgium can keep some clean sheets, then he's going to score massive for you. Next up is Mickey van der Ven. Now, highly linked to Liverpool of late. Whether or not that deal happens is another story, but he is a highly talented Netherlands centre-back. He's left-footed. He is absolutely rapid as well. So already this guy has played 33 games this season for his club. He's got 1 goal, 2 assists. And again, there has been some scoring in there. Nothing spectacular. Over the past year, he's averaged 49.2. But I fully expect him in this competition to be able to have some really, really big scores for the Dutch team, who I actually personally fancy as an outside bet for this tournament. I think there's a lot of talented players in that Dutch team, and it was quite hard trying to pick a few out for this, because I could have put a number of Dutch players down as having some great scores throughout this tournament. Next up is Destiny Udogie, who was on loan at Udinese last year from Spurs. Whether or not he goes back to Spurs and plays regularly is another story, but this guy's only 20, very quick left fullback. Can also play a bit further up the pitch as well. Very capable of getting you decisives with assists, and he played pretty regularly for an Udinese team. So again, he's only 20. I fully expect him to have a great under-21 tournament with the ability to get you some decisives for assists. The Italian team, probably a little bit of a dark horse, but other than France, they've got a little bit of an easier group. So he can potentially get you some early scores in that group stage, but another one that I think is going to have a really good tournament. Next up, we have Castello Lucaba. Played pretty much most of the season for Lyon, barring a few games here and there. 34 games, scored twice as well. He's a centre-back, 20 years old, and the fact that he's been playing regularly already at such a young age, I think highlights his ability. And if you see what he's done in the past year, 52.6 in terms of an average, I think is extremely promising for this tournament in terms of he could have a massive tournament. The French have got a humongous chance in this tournament with many amazing names, and funny enough, quite a few of them coming out of Lyon. With that being said, he is definitely one of the ones that I wanted to put down on this list, because I think he is going to be one of the big performers. Next up is one of my punts for the tournament, which is Sacha Boey. Might not be the starting right back for France, but I'm going to take a punt that he has a big tournament. He's one of those players that I've watched this past year, and he just passes the eye test. He's been linked with Arsenal. So the fact that the big boys are looking at him, I think that says enough for you guys out there, for that he's going to have a big tournament. Already, he's averaged 57.3 over the past year, capable of getting those decisives. 31 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, definitely one to look out for at this tournament. Next up, we have Tom Kraus from Schalke. This, again, is another player I don't massively know about myself, but a lot of the community have said that he's going to be one of the big players for Germany in this tournament. He's been a pretty consistent performer this year for Schalke. He's played 32 times. He's scored twice as well, so he has got a goal in him. He can play anywhere from CDM to cam, so all the way through the middle of the pitch. Another player that could have a really big tournament. Next up is another punty selection in Sergio Gomez. The fact that this guy has played 12 times for Man City this season in a very strong team, and he's got an assist in that, is a sign that he's going to do really well for Spain. Now, there's not a lot score-wise to go off of, so this is more of a little leap of faith with Sergio Gomez, but he's down as a left defender, but he's probably going to play more in midfield for Spain. And the fact that, like I say, he's broke into that Man City team and actually played in some of the rotation games makes me think that he's going to have a really good tournament. Next up is Sunset. I'm not going to say his first name because I'm probably going to butcher it. So we're probably best not to say that. But this is a guy that's played 36 times for Athletic Club already this season. And he's someone who's getting goals from midfield. He's got 10 goals, 2 assists. and some really good scores in there. There are some lower end scores, but they're probably more bench appearances. You guys might know this guy from FIFA. Got a Future Stars card on there. So I fully expect him to have a big Euros tournament and be one of Spain's main players. Next up is a guy on loan from Barcelona to Valencia, Nico Gonzalez. This guy has played 26 times and scored once and got an assist as well. You would expect anyone of the Barcelona youth system to be a good player. And I think Nico Gonzalez is no exception. I fully expect to see him in some big roles in this Spanish team. Spain, probably one of the dark horses. Some people might say they're not a dark horse because they're a favourite, but I believe they're probably an outside. If we look at what their squad is in comparison to recent years, they're probably a little bit more of an outside team. But I think this is a guy that's going to have a really, really big tournament. Next up is probably Spain's biggest player in Gabri Veiga. Again, another player that's been massively linked to some big sides around Europe, especially the Premier League, likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, all interested in this guy. He's got everything. He has seriously got everything to control that midfield. He's played 36 times this season. He's got 11 goals from midfield, and he also has 4 assists as well. Yes, there's some lower end scoring there, but this is a guy that in this Euros tournament, he is going to score massive. Mark my words on this. This will be one of the big boys for the tournament. Next up is Morgan Gibbs-White, who is probably the main reason why Nottingham Forest are still in the Premiership this season. Although Nottingham Forest have been battling relegation, his scores have still been pretty consistent. 44.2 through the season. He's played 37 times. He's scored 5 times. He's got 8 assists. This guy is a creative player in terms of Nottingham Forest. I actually think that's what he can be for England in this tournament as well. So look out for Morgan Gibbs-White to have a really big tournament. Now, next up is Curtis Jones. Chat would only allow me to have one Liverpool player in there. So if you know me, you know that my gallery is mainly Liverpool-based. Otherwise, I would have Curtis and Harvey Elliott probably from England as the potential stars for this tournament. Curtis Jones didn't play a lot in the first half of the season, but then he got a run of games together. And one thing I will say about Curtis Jones is he seems to have matured a lot in terms of when he first came into the team, he would give the ball away a lot. He would be on the ball far, far too long. But since this little run of form that he had here, this is where he was looking to offload the ball a lot quicker. And I think he could be a really big player for England. He's played 18 times this season. He's got himself 3 goals. He's got an assist as well. He can be a big player for England in this tournament, who I actually don't want to be too biased, but I actually think England are going to win the tournament. Next up is one of the older guys in the tournament again, Andre Almeida, 23. Portuguese midfielder at Valencia, has barely missed a game this season. In fact, one game, I think this was before this season. 34 appearances, 2 goals, 4 assists. A very creative midfielder, plays cam mainly for Valencia. I fully expect him to do the same for Portugal as well. Although Portugal will have a tough group, I think this guy could have a really good tournament. Another 23-year-old Portuguese midfielder, Fabio Vieira. Fully expect this guy to have a good tournament. Not had the greatest season for Arsenal, but very hyped before he moved to Arsenal. He's played 22 times this season. He's got himself 1 goal, 2 assists. This sort of level of scoring, I fully expect it to be a lot better. In the past, he has been a 100 scorer, and I think he can do that for Portugal in the under-21s. This player is one of my personal favourites, Mandela Keita. Belgian midfielder, plays for Antwerp. I quite like a lot of the Antwerp players on Sorare. But this guy's 21, plays CDM for Antwerp. He's been linked with Leeds. The fact that he's been linked with Leeds, I think, says all you need to know about him. He's someone to me that whenever I've watched him, he definitely passes the eye test. This guy is going to be hugely talented. And like I say, I own his rare card, so there's a little bit of bias there maybe, but I think this guy is going to have a really big tournament. Next up, Crescencio Somerville. I remember this guy this season from absolutely terrifying our Liverpool defence. So he might not be a surefire star for the Netherlands, but if he does get game time, I fully expect this guy to be a massive player. He hasn't been a regular player for Leeds this season, but I think he could have a really good under-21 Euro tournament. He's played 28 times. That includes from the bench as well as starting. He's got 4 goals. He's got 2 assists. Yeah, one to definitely watch out for. Ryan Gravenberch, someone that hasn't had a great season at Bayern Munich, but is still massively, massively talented. Everyone knows that this guy can be a real good player. I think this Euros could be the one where he shows his ability. He's still only 21. He feels like he's been around for ages because of how much he's been talked about. Most of his appearances this season have come off the bench for Bayern Munich. And the scores, if you looked at them, you would say, nah, this guy, who is this? He's not going to be a big player. But I'm going to keep the faith in Gravenberch. I think he'll be one of the first names on that Dutch team sheet. He's played 24 times for Bayern off of the bench and from the start. So fully expect him to have a big tournament. Nicolo Ravella, another player from FIFA in terms of a future stars card this year. He's 21. He's a centre mid. He's quite a controlling midfielder, but he's one of these, again, can play anywhere from CDM to Cam. He's played 28 times for Monza this season. He's got 1 goal. He's got 2 assists. His scores have been pretty consistent throughout that season. So I fully expect him to be able to take his scores to the next level in this tournament. Next up is another senior guy in terms of this tournament, Sandro Tonali. Someone that you probably wouldn't have thought had been playing in the Euro under-21s, but he qualifies, so he's 23 years old. He is the real deal. This guy has been around for a while now. He will be Italy's main man. And his scores this season for AC Milan, they've been pretty consistent with the odd high chucked in there as well. He is fully capable of being that guy that can control the game. And I fully expect him to do the same thing in this tournament for Italy. He has played 34 times this season. He's got 2 goals. He's got 7 assists. Expect him to be massive in terms of scores. Next up is someone that I've had my eye on for a long time. I really love watching this guy play football, Michael Olise. He is Palace's main man. He has played 37 times this season. He's got 2 goals. He's got 11 assists. His scores have been outrageous. He is doing this in the Premier League. An average of 52.3 through the past year. When this guy is getting linked to Paris Saint-Germain, you know that this guy is a baller. This guy is going to be a massive player for France in this tournament. Again, I could have picked so many French players from this squad, but another one that I think is going to just be humongous for them is Maxence Caqueret. He's already been huge for Lyon, and Lyon have got a lot of young French stars on their hands. His last 5 games, he's averaging 83, which is insane. And over the course of the season, he's averaged 56.9. Again, he's got it all. He's a bit more mature at 23, as opposed to some of the players in this tournament. Most people will already have heard of him. Again, I own his rare and his limited card. I fully expect this guy to be one of the top 5 stars in this tournament. Israel don't have many cards on Sorare. But even so, this guy is an easy standout in that team, Oscar Gluck. I've watched a lot of Salzburg this year. I own quite a few Salzburg cards. I'm starting a rare Salzburg collection. This guy, again, passes the eye test. Nothing spectacular to show in there. He's played 15 times for Salzburg this year. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. There's been a lot of sub-appearances when we look through. But he's also managed to play quite a bit in the first team already, and he's only 19. This will be one of Israel's big talents for a long time. Now, this guy needs no introduction. He is a Sorare favourite, especially for under-23 users. Martin Baturina has absolutely smashed it for Dinamo Zagreb this year. 34 appearances, 6 goals, 13 assists. The guy is a scoring machine. and he's only 20. Again, has been linked with a load of big clubs around Europe. If you look at some of his scoring through this course of this last year, it's probably the first part of the year, still pretty good, but the back end of the year is where he's really hit his form. And he's very creative. Expect him to score really big in this tournament. And again, he could be one of the top 5 stars of the tournament. And lastly, let's have a look at the forwards. And the first person I want to look at is Yusufa Moukoko. And if Germany are going to win the Euros, he is going to be one of the main reasons that they do it. He has torn up the Borussia Dortmund age level groups. And now he's starting to show what he can do in the Bundesliga. There's some good scores in here, but there's nothing amazing to write home about. But he is still a young chap at 18. He's got everything. He's got pace. He's got strength. And he's finished this season with 26 appearances, 7 goals, 4 assists. And I fully expect him to have a monstrous tournament. This is a guy that I'm very jealous of Chelsea signing, Noni Madueke. I don't think Chelsea have handled him properly. He should be one of the first names on the team sheet for me. He is seriously, seriously talented. And I think he's going to be a big player for England in this tournament. Although it is quite tough to predict England's front three, I think he will have some part to play in that front three. And he's actually done some pretty decent scoring when he has played for Chelsea this year. He's played 12 times. He's scored once, only once. But I think he's going to have a really, really good scoring tournament for England. We've got another experienced Portuguese player. They've got quite a few in their squad. 23 years old, Pedro Neto, a regular for Wolves, although this season has been a little bit hampered with an injury. He's played 18 times. He's got 1 assist. I think his experience in that Portuguese team, I think he's going to do really well. Another Portuguese player, another player that's played for Wolves. Fabio Silva, he did not have a great time when he was at Wolves. He was a young chap. He was 19 when he was there. He's moved to PSV now. He is 20 years old and his form has got a lot better. I think he can have a good tournament. He's played 14 times this season. He's scored 4 goals. He's got 1 assist. This is a guy that could do really well for Portugal in this tournament and one they're going to need if they're going to do well. And then we got Johan Bakayoko. 20 years old, PSV, has had a pretty decent season for them, probably more so the back half of the season. He's played 23 times, he's got 5 goals, he's got 5 assists, he's strong, he's pretty quick, and I think he's one of the standouts for Belgium. And then we got another Belgian forward in Michel Balikwisha. He's played 27 times for Antwerp this season, and Antwerp have got a lot of talented Belgian players. He's scored 6 goals. He's got 1 assist. His scores have been pretty good on the whole. He can play striker. He can play left attacking mid. I think he's going to be one of Belgium's standout stars. And then we've just got the one player from Norway, Asame. Again, I'm not going to try and pronounce his second name. Apologies. But this guy is the real deal. I've seen a lot of this guy play. I own his limited card. He's left attacking midfielder. I think he's played a few various positions as well. Yeah, he's also played striker as well. I think likely he will probably play striker for the Norwegian under-21s in this tournament as well. But I fully expect him to do really well for Norway with his 15 games that he's played this season. 1 goal and 5 assists in the Eredivisie. Again, another French talent. It was very tough picking all of these French talents from the squad and who I'd like to have in there. Obviously, part of the criteria was they've got to have a card. So next up is Bradley Barcola. This guy is smashing it for Lyon this season. He's got 26 appearances, 5 goals, 9 assists. He's really broken. Since this game week, in game week 341, he has really broken into the team. He's only 20. He's hugely talented. You speak to all the Sorare managers around the community and they will tell you how good this lad is going to be. And I fully expect him to be massive for France in this tournament as well. And then we got Rayan Cherki, and I don't need to say too much about this guy. You Sorare managers out there will know already of him. Only 19, has under 23 utility until 2028. His average this season or over the past year has been 50.5. And although there's not been the higher end past the 82s, this guy has shown everything. 34 games, 4 goals, 6 assists. He is going to be one of the top 5 players in this tournament. I know there's been some talk around him not potentially starting. Trust me, this guy is going to be massive for France. And then we got for Croatia, Matija Frigan. Has been linked to Dynamo Zagreb. And in the Croatian league, you know, if you're getting linked to Dynamo Zagreb, you are a talented footballer. He's only 20, under 23 until 2027. He's had a pretty decent season for Rijeka, if that's how you say it. Apologies again if I'm butchering the team name there. 27 appearances, 14 goals and 3 assists. That is a great return in 27 league games. That is a great return. Fully expect to see some big scores from him in the tournament. Another Croatian forward in Dion Beljo. This guy picked by the community. I don't know too much about him, but they tell me that he's going to be the main man in terms of strikers for Croatia in this tournament. Has been playing regularly for Augsburg. He's got 18 appearances in the Bundesliga with 3 goals and 3 assists. So he makes my shortlist. And lastly, we have Julian von Moos. There's not many players from the Switzerland team that have cards, so it's a little bit of an easy selection, but this guy is massively hyped. Been playing for St. Gallen in the Swiss Super League with 21 appearances, 4 goals and 6 assists in the league. As you can see, some time there where he was out of the team, but the fact that he's got those returns in very few games sees that this guy is going to be a talent. Guys and gals, if you have made it to the end of the video, thank you. If you could let me know in the comments if there is anyone you think is going to be a star of the under-21 Euros. Would be great to know your thoughts. And if you could please help me and the channel by clicking that like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it so much. And like I say, come and follow me on Twitch for more Sorare content.